You are tuned in to What Up Baltimore online radio. Please note that the views and opinions expressed on this channel are of the host and not of Lady J Media. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, What Up Baltimore TV. And if you really don't want to miss any of the shows, hit that notification bell and you'll get a message every time we come on. Now, we got it from here, so sit back, relax, and stay tuned. Hey everybody, it's Dr. Lady J. I am back, and this time I'm back with Shameka Williams. We're going to be talking about grief and loss tonight. We're going to do a series, everybody, I will have different people coming on. I have a couple of men that I'm lining up to come on, so we can also speak to the men, because I think we women, we grieve differently from men and how we express it. So we're going to have some men to come on as well. But before we get started, y'all know what I always say. Please share this with at least 3 people. Okay. Y'all been doing amazing with the sharing. Share it with at least 3 people, especially if you know someone who's going through grief. Recently, one lady, Shameka, told me that it's been like almost a decade or more, and she's still grieving. And so, I want you to make sure that you share it to those individuals. And I'm going to introduce Miss Shameka Williams. She is a grief coach, and she has a lot going on. So, Shameka, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the solo screen for a minute, and I want you to tell us who you are, what you do, and all that good stuff. So let me give you this solo screen because I want them to see you.
Sure. So my name is Shameka Williams. I am a life and grief coach, but I specifically, my niche is grief. I lost my mother about 13 years ago, and through that process, I learned how hard grief is, not just in death, but in life, right? Because in life, you grieve over and over again. It's inevitable. And so, my goal in life, my purpose, I feel, is to assist individuals on journeying through their grief, because grief is a journey. And everybody has a different path in this journey. I have an organization called Those Without Mothers, for people who have lost their mothers, whether to death or to life, because we know that you can lose mothers in different ways, not just death. And so I also have a grief coaching business called From Grief with Love. And I do some other things that allow people to express what they're feeling. I have weekly grief support groups. I'm in collaboration with the Renaissance Center, which is a Christian counseling center. I do grief groups every other Saturday. So I also go into the community and speak to young people. I go in schools. I go everywhere I can to talk about the fact that grief is not taboo. It's something we have to talk about.
All right. Thank you so much. Now, Blanca, I wanted to, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to give myself the solo layout. Let me do this the right way. There we go. So Blanca says, I want to put her comment up. She says, I'm looking forward to hearing from this guest, as I just learned about this past week, since Lady J shared you would be on. So in other words, she's looking forward to hearing from you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much, Blanca. Blanca, make sure you share this video too. And so tonight, everybody, what we're going to be talking about is grief and loss. Like I said, we're going to be doing a series, and there are going to be other topics, regarding grief that you'll be able to tune in on. And I know one of these topics will be something that you've experienced or you're experiencing right now. And so tonight we're talking about grief and loss. And I really wanted to start off with this, Shameka, because I remember you reaching out to me because I was having a really bad day, and it seemed like the day from hell, because everybody that I talked to was like, "Oh, how are you doing?" And I don't talk about my grief, but I'll say something like, "I'm taking it a day at a time."
Mm-hmm.
I'll say something like that, or I might say, today is a really good day. I was struggling yesterday. I'll say something like that, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't go into details because I know after a while people don't want to hear it. They don't
Mm-hmm.
want to hear about your grief. And that particular day, everybody that was asking me a question and I said something to, their response was either, "Well, that just happened in February," or "That was your son's daughter. Why are you so upset?" Or "The baby was only 4 days old. Oh my goodness, how did you get so attached to the baby? Oh my goodness, I can't believe you're grieving this much." One person even told me, you're grieving this hard because you want to grieve." And I was like, "What?" So I was so frustrated that day. And I remember by the time I got home, I just broke down and I started crying.
Mm-hmm.
And the tears were because I was still grieving. I don't really like to talk about it. And the fact that when you did ask me how I was doing, and when the response came back, it felt like each time the response was hitting me in my chest, like just banging me in my chest.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, and some of these were people that I thought were friends that would understand, what I was saying. And so I
Mm-hmm.
had, put a post out like, "Oh my goodness, I just really wish people understood
Mm-hmm.
what you're feeling when you go through grief." Like,
Mm-hmm.
and you were one of the people, thank you very much, who reached out, and through Messenger, and then we talked, and it was at that point that I said, maybe I need to do a grief series,
Mm-hmm.
because it has to be other people like me. And then I want people who are not currently going through grief. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what to say, please keep your mouth shut. Please, just do me that
That,
one
that
favor.
part.
Keep
Mm-hmm.
your mouth shut,
Mm-hmm.
because you never know how that. My friend a few years ago committed suicide
Mm-hmm.
because nobody understood his pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when he was always talking about his pain, and I think people just got tired of hearing it, and
Mm-hmm.
so he committed suicide. And
Mm-hmm.
I felt like he really didn't have to do that if somebody was listening, if somebody was paying attention. So that's why I really wanted you to come on tonight and just talk to us about the grieving process, the stages people go through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also, before we close out, to help others who are sitting there listening to the person that's grieving, help them to know what to say.
Yeah. So I think first of all, I think one of the main things that sticks out to me about what you just said was the fact that people were saying to you those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that when you are going through grief, we have to understand we have to put boundaries on other people and ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the
Mm-hmm.
things that we tend not to do in grief is not put boundaries on our expectations of people and people's our expectations of us. Because
Mm-hmm.
people are expecting you to not be grieving, whether it's because of the time or whether because they think that you shouldn't be attached. Their opinion of your grief, of anyone's grief, it doesn't matter. Um,
Mm-hmm.
my mother has been gone 13 years. I'm still grieving my mother.
Wow.
That
Wow.
grief does not have a timeline. It does not
Mm-hmm.
have a time thing always over. And that's one thing that I always like to point out is that when people say I want to get back to the old me before whatever happened, unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times we put expectations on ourselves to get back to who we were before the loss, but unfortunately, we will never be who we were before the loss. And
Wow.
a lot of times, that's what we try to do. Let me go back.
Mhm.
Okay, I need to, or people will say, you need to get back to yourself. Well,
Mhm.
unfortunately, you won't ever be that person again. You have evolved into a person who has experienced grief, right? And when we talk about stages of grief, we have depression, we have shock, we have acceptance, we have denial. But one of the main stages of grief we do not talk about is the guilt and regret.
Mhm.
Right? It's one of the things that holds a lot of people hostage and stagnant in their grief process. And that's the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. I should have
Mhm.
did this. I should have been at the hospital. I should have bought them this. I should have been there for this. And unfortunately, none of that will bring that person back.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, what we have to begin to do is understand that the way life works is we all are going to live and we're all going to die. What we don't want to do is die with the person that passed away. Now,
Mhm.
understand that grief is not exclusive to death. Um, you grieve when you're going through a divorce. You grieve when you're breaking up with a friend. You grieve when you leave a job, when you leave a church. All of those things are grief. And the first step in any process is understanding that you have a right to feel how you feel.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
think in your process, that's so important,
Mhm.
is because it sounds like other people are trying to invalidate what you feel.
Right. Right.
Number
Mhm.
one, the type of people that you should be around at this point in your life, they shouldn't be invalidating your feelings. And one thing that I learned is that your support system is only as good as your expectation and your boundaries.
Mm.
And sometimes we have to put boundaries on others so that they can understand that this is my process. This might not be yours, but this belongs to me. And
Mhm.
so every feeling that you are feeling about your, I believe it was your granddaughter, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Every
Mhm.
feeling that you're feeling about your granddaughter is valid.
Mhm.
Nobody gets to dictate how you feel about what's happening.
Mhm.
You deserve to feel how you feel. And
Mhm.
so I just want to say to you personally, number one, I'm so sorry for your loss. But number two, you deserve to feel that loss the way you feel like you need to.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
like you said with your friend, a lot of times people brush off the pain of loss. And a lot of times that's why people can't continue their process. When
Mhm.
we are not supportive of other people trying to express what they're going through, we then stagnate them because they feel like they don't have anybody that understands.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
often why people tend to go to the depression stage much quicker, because a lot of times you need support when you lose.
Right.
And if you don't have that support, oftentimes you start feeling alone. I
Mhm.
remember when my mom died, that's one of the things I felt. Even though I had millions of people around me that loved me,
Yes. Yes.
I felt alone because it's not
Mhm.
the same when you go through a loss. Um,
Mhm.
and so I think that we have to remember that some people don't know how to be there for people when they lose, but also we have to make sure that our expectations for people are not at a place where we expect them to know what we need. Sometimes
Mhm.
we also have to tell people, hey, this is what I need from you. And sometimes it's okay to say, this is what I don't need,
Mhm. Mhm.
and letting
Mhm.
that person know, please refer. If you don't have anything to say about what I'm going through, you can refrain from saying it at all.
Right.
And that's
Right.
creating a boundary for yourself to
Mhm.
say, no,
Mhm.
that's not fair that you get to say that. Nobody gets to dictate your process.
Right. And some of the things that you just talked about is what I'm going through. And y'all, if you're in the comments and you wanna I'm gonna open the phone line in a few minutes. But if you wanna, I'm looking at your comments and I'm gonna read those in a few minutes. And make sure you share this video also.
Mhm.
But some of the things that I'm dealing with, right? I love what you said, that you will never be this you won't be the same person again, because
Mhm.
that's what I'm feeling right now. Like, I'm never going to be that person that people saw on the screen before.
Mhm.
It's like it's done something to me where I'm totally different now. You
Mhm.
know, I'm looking at things in a different way. The
Mhm.
other thing that's happened is that it's made me look at people in a different way.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's helped me when you were talking about setting boundaries, um, to put not only a fence, but to put a wall, a gate, and everything up that you can't come over anymore because you're not respecting my process and what I'm
Mhm.
going through. And
Mhm.
so it's taught me that. And I think the most hurtful part for me was that, and I don't know if anybody else has gone through this, was I'm not married or seeing anybody. So, and my son has his own place. So when it was over, like we had the burial, we had the memorial service, but I was always home alone. I
Mhm.
had I had nobody to come home to. I had nobody to talk to. And it
Mhm.
was just me in here, crying and trying to just ask myself why. Like you said,
Yeah.
I went through tremendous guilt.
Yeah.
I was at the hospital most of the time, but the one night when I was like really tired and I was like, I'm gonna go home, and lay down. That was the night I was so tired, Shamika, that my phone died. And when I plugged my phone in, I got the message from my son, the baby's not doing well. And I'm looking, I'm like, oh my goodness, this was like 2 or 3 hours ago, and I'm panicking now. And I'm getting myself ready to go to the hospital. I spent probably up until a few weeks ago just dealing with
Mhm.
grief. What if I didn't have my phone on? What if I had the phone on, I could have left right then and went straight to the hospital. Maybe things would have been different. Like I have struggled with the grief. You
Mhm.
know, I've just gotten to the point where I can have the conversation and not cry.
Mhm.
So the grieving process is very real, and everything that you said is so true.
Yeah, and I think that that's why it's so important that we talk about the regret and the guilt, because there were, even if you tried, even if you got there, unfortunately, that baby had a life lived that God had already ordained, right?
Hmm.
And so sometimes we have to stop looking at the logistics of things and understand
Yeah.
the human side of things, and
Hmm.
sometimes the spiritual side of things. That's just where we have to understand that we're not in control of anything.
Right. Right.
And humans in general are control freaks.
Yeah.
We want to
Yeah.
control things. So
Hmm.
that guilt is really a level of control that we are trying
Hmm.
to take back. That's
Right.
really what it is.
Because
Because,
yeah. Because
yeah, because,
I was going to say that for me it was because I have always been able, if there was something going on with my son, I
hmm
could always run interference and make stuff happen.
hmm
This particular time, Shamika, I was just going crazy. Like, I don't know what to do. I
hmm
don't I don't even understand what happened. What
hmm
just happened?
yeah,
So the guilt that I have been feeling, I'm not only grieving for, I meant to say this earlier, I'm not just grieving over for my granddaughter, I'm grieving for my son and his
yeah,
girlfriend. This was his first child,
hmm
and I'm like, I'm talking to God. I'm like, he's such a good person. He was such a good kid. Why did this happen? And
hmm
it's you go through so many waves of emotions that
hmm
it's made me, at this point, I just want to be by myself.
hmm
I'm normally the social butterfly here, there, and everywhere. I don't really want to go anywhere.
hmm
My mother's been getting on me because all I want to do is stay home. But I just don't want to be around a lot of people right now.
yeah. I think number one, in some ways you're numb, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that if you go out there, something may trigger you. So,
Mm-hmm.
it could be a smell, it could be something somebody says at any point, it could come back to your remembrance, and you want to be in the comfort of your own space to feel what you want to feel.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, the more we isolate, the more we allow the grief journey and grief to take us to a place that's not safe for us, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Isolating is not, although we want to do it, and I'm
Right.
just me, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to be around nobody for a long time. But
Mm-hmm.
isolating does nothing but, again, stagnate your grief journey,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't allow you to move through the process in a way that you can kind of not get over it, but get through it.
Mhm.
Right? You
Mhm.
have to start walking out the process. The only way that you can begin to walk through the grief journey is to walk through it.
Mhm.
And a lot of times, what we do is we start walking and then we stop. We
Right.
start walking,
Right.
stop.
Mhm.
Now, there's nothing wrong with you taking it slow in terms of you being with around other people because, like I said, something could trigger you. But also, excuse me, it makes sense that you're grieving for your son as well.
Mhm.
Because what I learned is that when I lost my mother, my son also lost his grandmother, right?
Mhm.
So that was a big loss because Big Mama was always the thing for
Right.
us. Like our grandmothers were our world. I think
Mhm.
for me, what I had to deal with is the fact that I had to allow him to feel his loss the way he needed to, and I
Mhm.
could not go through the journey for him, right?
Mhm.
And I think the only thing that we need to learn how to do is make sure that we are allowing the people around us to go through that process, but also don't dictate for them and make sure
Mhm.
that we are still taking the time to navigate our own. And
Right.
that also means sometimes when other family members grieve, you're not going to grieve like your son. Your son's
Mhm.
not going to grieve like you. And
Right.
we have to not try to determine what they need just because this is our process. What
Mhm.
you need is going to be different than what your son needs. And so we just got to make sure that we're walking it out because grief will wait for you. It's not going
Mhm.
anywhere. It's
Mhm.
not going to stop, right? It's not going to stop till it reaches you. And one of the things that I did was I allowed myself to be a part of disruptive behaviors. I was drinking more than usual. I was, partying, and that just wasn't me.
Mhm.
So I was doing things to numb the pain. So you
Right.
can drink, but are you drinking to numb something, or are you doing it because you enjoy it? Um,
Mhm.
there's a difference, and I think even though it's not necessarily destructive or disruptive, isolation can still be a behavior that exhibits that you want to numb it in some type of way. You
Mhm.
understand what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Especially
Mhm.
if that's out of character for you.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I do understand that I'm in therapy right now,
Which is
because
great.
I felt like I really needed that because it just hit me really hard because when you're and this is what I want people to understand too. When people are grieving and you talked about expectations, you don't expect your mother to not be here. You understand that death is going to come, but
Yeah.
sometimes it comes sudden, and you're not expecting it. And
Yeah.
so my expectation was the baby's going to be born in April, and I had literally cleared my calendar because I
Hmm.
said I didn't want anything to interfere with my time with her. um and she was born in February, you know and so then I was like, but it's cool because they keep reassuring us she's 2 pounds, she's going to be okay. So all of these expectations I had of what I was hearing, what I was
Hmm.
still looking forward to, and then when you come home and you don't have that person, and you buried that person and you memorialized that person,
Hmm.
and I'm walking around with all of the baby shower stuff here. I
Hmm.
mean, it's been I don't even know what word to use. Like
Hmm.
like you said, I think I'm still in shock.
It's
You
shocking.
know,
Yeah.
I'm going through the motions, I'm doing my shows, I'm doing what I have to do. But when I finish,
Hmm.
I just want to be alone. I
Hmm.
want to spend I do go out, but I don't go out as much.
Hmm.
And I think it's also because I don't want to hear people's questions.
Yep. Hmm. Yeah.
What happened? What happened?
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
how much does she weigh? I don't want to hear your question. I mean, not being rude, but I just don't want to. I
That's
don't
rude.
want to answer the
Somebody asking
questions.
you that is
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
that's where the boundaries have to take place, right? Um,
Mhm.
it's almost like I don't feel like establishing boundaries for this because I feel like I shouldn't have to. I
Right.
shouldn't have to
Right.
say to you, don't ask me no questions about how much this baby weight. Like, what part of your? But honestly, until you're ready to establish those boundaries, I understand why you don't really want to go outside
Mhm.
because at the
Mhm.
end of the day, it's like an unhealed wound. Who
Right.
wants
Right.
opening up a wound. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that for you, it's going to have to be a time where you're strong enough to say, please don't ask me questions about my baby. Please just don't.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
also being able to be around people who you know that's not even going to be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right. Right.
one thing that you said that was so pivotal is that you said people were asking you, were you okay? And I think that it's important that when people ask, are we okay? Um, they have the capacity to understand that we're not.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of times that's so cliche. Are you, hey, how you doing? Do you really want to know? Because
Exactly.
I'm not okay. I'm not.
Right.
But
Right.
one thing I will say is that my circle changed tremendously when I've lost. Now I've lost a lot of things, right? As a
Mm-hmm.
woman, I've lost my body to fibroids. I've lost a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that when you lose, you have to evolve and grow. That's why
Yeah.
you will never be
Yeah.
that person again.
Mm-hmm.
But you
Mm-hmm.
also have to be okay with saying, hey, um, at this time, I have to do what's best for me. Grief is
Right.
really about self discovery
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
you will discover things about yourself when you grieve that you will never know. Your circle may get smaller, but I believe that I now have people around me who can take all of me, including my grief. And
Right.
sometimes the people that could take you when you weren't grieving are not the same people that can take you when you are.
That's very true. That's very true. Now, how do I want to talk about? I wanted my friend to come on, but her grief is very recent, like a week
Hmm.
ago.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if anyone heard about the young lady that was shot.
Hmm.
About her boyfriend.
Yeah.
That's my friend's niece.
Hmm.
Now they are really going through it right now.
Yeah.
The entire family, and she's had multiple deaths back to back,
Yeah.
and it's like yet another one. And she was crying because she's just like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know. And I want you to really speak to her, not only her, but my other friend too. I have two friends that
Hmm.
have had multiple deaths. And, for each of them, one of the deaths was like major. I
Hmm.
mean, major. um and it's left them, we talk sometimes, they're crying.
Hmm.
Days are hard to get through, and I want you to speak to them because I honestly, Shamika, I don't know what to tell them. All I am is a listening ear. I can
Hmm.
say I'm praying for you, but I really don't know what to tell them.
Hmm. So I think that number one, when people are grieving, something we have to allow is what you were doing. Number one, to be just listen. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because honestly, there are no right words that you can say to someone who is grieving it's not gonna take the pain away for them. Sometimes listening, number one, is the best thing, and really hearing
Mm-hmm.
them out. Because a lot of times people will say they want to hear you, but they really don't want to hear you.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to do it because that's what they're supposed to do.
Right.
That's number one. Number two, when you've had multiple deaths, it then becomes what we call complicated grief, right? Because when you had multiple deaths or losses, it doesn't even have to be death, losses on top of each other, that becomes complicated. And it's almost as if, and I tell my clients this, you have to take it one loss at a time,
Mm.
right? Because I think that sometimes when we try to compile all the losses together and try to take them in all at the same time, that's too overwhelming. It's too overwhelming.
Mm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like you have to, first of all, it's not about order of importance. Sometimes it's about order of grief, right?
Mm-hmm.
I lost my sister. Let me process this. Let me think about this. Let me go through this because I need to think about this. Not saying you won't think about the other losses, but if you
Mm-hmm.
continue to think about all the losses at one time, you're literally you're going to go crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we have to kind of take it piece by piece. That's number two. But then number three, we have to allow ourselves to be okay with not business as usual.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us, and you even said this, you said, I'm doing my shows, I'm doing all of that stuff, I'm doing what I need to do, but it's business as usual because I still got to live. I still
Right.
have what I have to do. But it's also, we have to be okay with saying, I can't do business as usual. And
Mm-hmm.
the things that I'm fighting hard with, and I'm getting with my organization about, is this whole 3 days that the job gives you to bereave, right? It
Mhm.
doesn't matter who it is. They say, oh, you get 3 days and you got to come back to work. Who can grieve in 3 days,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So that is even telling how others don't respect our grief.
Right. Right.
Sometimes we have to force other people to respect our grief.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
think that we have to respect it first, though. And we have to be okay with saying, hey, I'm not okay. I cannot do these things. These are the things I cannot do. Because a
Mhm.
lot of times, especially when you're taking a major hit, you are continuing to try to live life business as usual, and your life has totally changed,
Right.
right? Not saying you have to lay in the bed all day, but you also have to process what happened. That's a lot of times why people end up in a situation where grief has stagnated, or it has come to a really bad depression and things like that,
Mhm.
because they
Mhm.
haven't given themselves time.
Right.
They
Mhm.
haven't given themselves time. And so I would say that allowing your friends to talk to you, but also allowing them to process each one, so that it's not so overwhelming for them, but then understanding that they may need to just take some time away to process
Mhm.
for themselves,
Right.
and allowing
Right.
themselves to respect their own grief and how they're feeling,
Mhm.
and also
Mhm.
not allowing anybody to dictate how they should grieve. If they want to
Right.
scream and cry, do it. Do what you need
Mhm.
to do. But not a job, not a friend, not nobody should be able to dictate how people are grieving. But that situation, with your friend's niece is very hard.
Mhm.
It does matter whether people
Mhm.
say it or not, how people pass away. It does
Yeah.
matter.
And the
Um,
other thing is that when it's a, in that case with my friend's niece, it's all over social media.
mhm,
She called me one day crying because she is bombarded with people calling her saying, "Did you see it on here? Did you see it on there?" Like I hadn't seen it. And then somebody showed it to me. So people are, that's the other thing. People who are grieving. I know a young man, they pulled him out of the water at the harbor. And I
mhm,
was looking at it on Instagram, and people were even in the comments saying, "Stop posting people's families, because
mhm.
until it's you,
Yeah.
you don't know how it feels." And
Mhm.
nobody wants to keep saying that. We have a caller.
Okay.
Let me get her on. Can you hear me, caller?
Yes, it's Blanca. How are you, Lady J?
Good.
So, I wanted to share that even yesterday, I learned that our skeleton completely regenerates or remodels itself every 10 years.
Oh my
When I think about that, even if our biological goes through such transformation, that we are not going to be the same when
Mhm,
there is loss, when
mhm,
there's grief to also walk through, as Tamika mentioned. And
Mm-hmm.
my question is, I believe this, and I thank you so much for having this show because I need to hear. I am listening, I am learning, and I wanted to ask: Is it common, or is it have you found that when grief occurs, we also become the busy bees? Like I find myself like, oh, let me just do something else or add the calendar or make that calendar full because I think that grief causes us to defer that very thing we should deal with and kind of distract us for a little bit. But I come to a decision that I have to leave one of my four jobs because grief is so much that it's actually not even I'm no longer functioning. So I
mhm.
have to leave one of the four positions because I have to deal and finally get the therapeutic services that I need.
Yeah.
I become a busy bee instead of a healing, I'll call it healing, uh, um, minded person.
Yeah. I think that what you said was so real.
Thank
So
you, Blanca.
it's almost the opposite of isolation. So instead of isolating, you are deciding that you want to be part of multiple activities so that you don't feel. So it's once again, you're trying to numb the pain, but you're numbing it with trying to keep your mind moving so you don't think about the loss. And yes, that is something that people do often. But as I said, grief will wait for you. So whether
Mhm.
or not you have 17 jobs, at some point it's going to hit. And because you have not walked through any part of the process, it's going to be something that may be almost like a breakdown, right? I don't think that everybody has major breakdowns. I think we all have situations where we may break down, cry and be triggered. But I think
Mhm.
the situation is, if you don't allow yourself to grieve at any place, what's going to happen is it's going to catch up to you, and it's going to be unhealthy. And yes, our bodies regenerate, and just our mind will too, our heart will too, but it's going to grow out of, just like they say, the concrete builds a rose and all that good stuff. It will build itself, but you have to do the work to do it.
Okay, we
It
got
takes.
another caller.
Okay.
Caller.
Hey, Doc, this is your sister. So, you and I always have this conversation about grieving, and I
Mhm.
don't like for people to tell me it's okay. Or give me a put an expiration date on my grieving. It seems like every time that I feel like I'm getting myself together or putting one foot in front of the other, here come another hit coming.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like we have lost so many people. You have been with me through this journey of
Mhm.
losing my family members on top of family members, and these are close family members. It's not like they are friends or someone that I grew up with. This is my grandmother, my sister, my aunt, and even to one time we were at the culture art center. My uncle that minute took his life, and I had to stop you, and you were there for me, and we are still you're still here to this day. So
Mhm.
I don't sometimes get it. I don't try to answer my own questions as to why this happened. I'm beating myself up. The best thing I could have ever did was go and admit to myself, you need help. You need to go talk to somebody. Get to this medication. But what happens, I'm trying to get to this point in my life where what happens when there's no more medication, when there's no more this therapy, when there's no more this doctor to talk to, when there's no more clicking this button to jump on and listen to. I try to find my place with myself. And excuse me for my voice sounding like this because it's been a struggle. It's been a hardship for me and my family, and we are right now prepared for this funeral. And it's gonna. This is a hit that they took from my family out of all of the deaths in my family. This one right here put a dent, and it hit so different because Twitter, social media, then broadcast my niece and cousin and nephew body and just the tragic of him doing this to her. I could watch it, and my friends are sending it to my inbox, sending it to me by text, phone calls directly. Twitter has not respect the fact that to give us our privacy. Social media has not given us the space to even get ourselves together to fabricate what went wrong, what happened. And I'm just now getting my voice together because now we went to her home and his family then ransacked my niece's house. And what do I do? Like I just right now, I feel so numb. I feel shattered. I feel like I just don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to be around nobody, and I don't want to feel like this. I don't. I just want to just feel normal. Just, and I know this is for the moment, but I ask myself, when does this stop?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I want to
Thank
say,
you, Van. You listening to what she has to say to you.
I want to say,
Okay.
first of all, I'm so sorry, right? I think that you have a very unique situation because social media and all that stuff is so disrespectful, right? It's not giving you any privacy. I will say that number one in this situation, like I mentioned earlier, don't try to figure out how to be normal or get back to yourself. You will never be the same because you've been through so much, right? You've been through so much pain. I would say number two, you have to respect every feeling that you feel coming up. If you're angry, which I'm sure you are, if you're mad, whatever it is, I'm not saying act out. I'm saying you have to act out your grief with yourself. You have to allow yourself to feel whatever you need to. And I will also say, because you've been through so many losses, it may be important that you take the space to discover what it is you're doing. And what I mean by that, you're going to have to find your hope again, right? Because you are literally hopeless. I can hear it in your voice. You're hopeless because you have been through so much. You just like, God, I can't take no more. And at the end of the day, I get that. I'm not in your shoes, but I think all of us have lost at some point. But what I do want to say to you is you have to discover what you can do to triumph even now. What can you do to make this pain a purpose? Your niece and whoever else passed away, they did not pass away in vain. And so sometimes we have to dig deep and figure out how we can make this a situation that we can triumph and be able to say, I made it through. And sometimes, even though we don't want to be, we are the ones that will help our family go through it too. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if you can be, you say, listen, I know this is a horrible situation, but we're gonna get through this. This is how sometimes our family has to get together and really be able to band together and say, this is how we're gonna walk through this thing. And I will say that allow yourself to just do whatever you need to do, even if it's before the burial, before the funeral, and you just go on your pillow and scream. You do whatever you need to do because you
Mm-hmm.
have to let it out. The more you continue to think about it and let it in, the more you internalize that pain, the more the pain will go in and it's going to then pervert itself in your body. That's not what we want. What we
Right.
want is for you to allow yourself to feel. That's
Mm-hmm.
really, I mean, people can tell you out of the books, oh, this is what you need to do. But at the end of the day, they're not walking what you're walking.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so sometimes you just have to go through it, feel what you need to feel, and allow yourself to do what you feel you need to do. Not saying anything destructive, but you're gonna have to discover who you are after all that pain. You
Right.
have to discover it again.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that I'm doing, Shameka, that in therapy, I will tell you, if anybody's going through it, please get some help.
Yeah, yeah.
Grief counseling, therapy, it really works. And one thing that I've been doing, like my therapist has said the same thing. If I need to spend this time alone, don't spend it being depressed. But
Mm-hmm,
what can you do in that space while you're alone? What is it that you
mm-hmm,
can work on? And I was like, that makes sense. And
mm-hmm,
so I love candles. I love like candles. The candles will
mm-hmm,
be everywhere. And I decided one day, I said, I wonder, really how candles are made. So I went on YouTube and I started looking at how people make them. And I decided that I was going to make candles in honor of my granddaughter.
yeah,
And so I actually got different scents, and I did it from scratch. Got with the wax,
yeah,
the the things that go in the middle, and when I put the scents in, the different scents, and this is the crazy part. I like Bath and Body Work candles and Yankee candles, and it's hard for me to part with the jars. I don't know why. So I
mm-hmm,
just had a whole bunch of jars like in my
mm-hmm,
cabinet, and I remembered that, and I said, "Oh, I don't have to even buy any jars because I have these," and I put the wax and the oil, and I let it get hard, and the smell, just the aroma, that was coming through my house. It was
mm-hmm.
just everything was in memory of her, you
Yep.
know. And I was thinking about a way to like name the candles and give them to people, maybe people that are grieving and,
Mm-hmm,
come up with a name. So that's what I'm working on now. And the
mm-hmm,
other thing I did was when she was in the hospital, it was hard. We took a lot of pictures.
mm-hmm,
And after she passed away, it was hard for me to look at the pictures,
mm-hmm,
and I was always scrolling through my phone real fast when I would see those pictures coming. And one day I went for a walk about 2 weeks ago. I went for a walk. And as I'm walking, there was a CVS, and I said, let me go pick up my medication. And I go to get my medication, but it's closed. The pharmacy's closed because it was on a Sunday. And I saw the little kiosk where you can make pictures. And I finally said, you know what? I'm going to sit right here and I'm going to go through these pictures. I'm going to buy a photo album, and I'm just going to make an album in remembrance of her. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna sit here and I sat there so long. The guy that was working there said, "Miss, are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah," but I had, I'm thinking about each memory, as I'm looking at the pictures. So I got those pictures made, and now I'm working on the photo album. And those are the things that have helped me.
Yeah, yeah. And you can even put the pictures on the candles now. Um,
Yes.
yeah, so yeah, I think that finding something that will allow you to process, but you have to figure that out. That's why I said grief is also about self discovery,
Yeah.
because what may have worked for you before may not have
Hmm.
worked for you now, right?
Hmm.
That's also when people always ask me what made me start my organization. It started because not only was I in pain after losing my mother, but then I saw so many other people lose their mother.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
said, I don't want people to be alone. So then it was a whole, that's why I do my grief group. I'm like, no, it's other people that
Hmm.
need this help. I want people to know I felt so alone when I lost,
Hmm.
multiple people. I felt lost and alone. I don't want
Right.
anybody else to feel like that. And
Hmm.
sometimes we have to share, because if we share, then we realize that other people are dealing with some of the same stuff. Yes, we'll all have different journeys, but it
Hmm.
helps when you know you're not alone in your hurt, right?
Right.
So I think that the candle making and the different things, like I started sewing. Now I never knew how to sew, but
Hmm.
I figured it out. I sometimes you gotta put your mind on something so your mind isn't on that,
Right. Right. Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
So I think that's important.
Yeah. So y'all, if you have any questions for Shameka, if you want to call in, the
Hmm.
numbers on the screen, or if you want to just write it in the chat, you can. We only have a few minutes left, so I'm going to read the comments while you all are deciding if you want to call them. We got a comment from Pushing Forward. She said, "People project their love language on others because they have yet to reach a level of emotional intelligence." Wow. And
Absolutely.
she said, we have to teach people how to handle us. That person is gone. I learned that the hard way. And
Hmm.
she says, thank you for this conversation.
Hmm.
And then we have, I think it's Danae Green said, you're speaking to Shamika. We
Hmm.
have Neil, I'm sorry, is it no, I'm sorry. Now W, you have to set boundaries and it's okay to set them. And
Hmm.
Blanca says expectations and boundaries are necessary. And
Necessary.
Danae says, I love boundaries. And Nell says, God's plan is his plan. The outcome, unfortunately, couldn't be different.
Hmm.
And then Nell says grief will wait. So you have to go through it. And
Hmm.
Jasmine says, if you don't begin the process of dealing with your grief, it will deal with you. Wow.
Yep,
Pushing Forward says we really do have the right to remain, and that's so true. We really do have the right to remain silent.
we do.
Danae said we should normalize asking if you are ready to talk about the situation before just speaking. Thank
Yep.
you.
Hmm.
And then Nell says unpack. I love this. Unpack one grief at a time.
That's right.
And then we have Martin Lee who says, hello, ladies. Appreciate y'all for creating a space for such a topic. Lady Monty says hello. Wait, Lady Monty says hello. And Monty. Okay, got you. And he's tuned in. Hey, Monty. Martin Lee says, can't put a time on grief. Amen.
Yes.
Um, Van is the one who called in, Shamika. She says, thank you, my sister, for understanding when it comes to grief. Vision grieving. I seriously understand it right now. I am in so much pain and it's causing me to break down everywhere.
And that's okay. And allow yourself to feel it. You have every
Mm-hmm.
right. Feel what you
Mm-hmm.
need to feel. Don't hold it in. Just let it out.
Mm-hmm. And
Let it out.
Nell W says the grief will wait for you, Blanca. You definitely have to go through it. Um, And then we have Van Green said, I started coming to many grief groups, but the one where I stopped was Roberta's house. Okay, so she's going to somebody else told me about Roberta's house.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say that I really do appreciate you coming on tonight. I really do. this has been an amazing conversation, and it's not a topic that you hear people like coming online talking about a lot and discussing, but it's a topic that needs to happen
Mm-hmm.
because people, especially now, I don't know, the year 2024 has been crazy. I've never seen so many people passing away,
Mm-hmm.
just every time. And I had said one day, I'm tired of going to social media because it's coming like an obituary. Somebody's gone, this person is gone, and it gets to be overwhelming sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So Shameka, I just want to say thank you for coming on.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all, listen, if you want to, what I'm going to do, Shameka, also is I'm going to put your information up on the screen,
Mm-hmm.
for how they can reach you. Oh, we got another comment. Sorry. Uh, Blanca says, Van Green, may this time as we listen bring you strength, as I also need to walk through this journey to heal.
Yes.
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 Yes. So I'm going to put you on the screen, and I just want you to, talk to people for a few minutes, whatever you want to share about grief. And y'all, I'm going to put her information up so, you'll be able to reach out to her, and also tell them about the group that you started, because I
Yeah.
there may be people out there who
Mm-hmm.
need to go to your group.
Yes.
Um let me see. Was it another comment? No, that was it. So yeah, I'm gonna put you on the solo screen and let you go ahead and share.
So I just wanted to say to everybody who is grieving right now in whatever process and whatever part of the process you're in that I am proud of you. I know that's something kind of weird to say, but people have no idea what it's like to go through the process of grief for your particular situation, for your particular loss, right? They have no idea what it feels like for you to get out of the bed every day, for you to live because you're hurting so bad. So I want to say I'm proud of you, and to please keep pushing. Please continue to walk through this journey. Go to a therapist. I'm a grief coach. Feel free to reach out to me. And I just want you to know that you are not alone in this. My organization is called Those Without Mothers. It is for people who have lost their mothers to both death or life, because sometimes you have people who are alive but they're dead to you. And
Oh, wow, that's powerful. Mm.
yeah. And so I like to make sure that we address those who, may not have relationships with people. But those without mothers is not just about loss of mothers, it's that those who have lost in general. And so I would say that we have a Facebook group for those without mothers. For people who want to be in our private Facebook group, you can just look Those Without Mothers Global Community. And we have conversations in there about different things. Mother's Day is coming up next week, and it's rough. We usually have a brunch, but we did take off this year only because we have something big that we want to do for our community. But I would also say that if you are looking to get some help, you want to be a part of some grief groups, definitely check out the Renaissance Center. Is connected to the Morning Star Baptist Church. Also, I will begin to reset my weekly grief support groups. I do that in collaboration with the Women's Wellness Lounge. So feel free to follow me, Shameka Speaks, on Instagram, and Those Without Mothers on Instagram and Facebook, because that will allow you to stay connected. If you need help, you can always inbox me. You can always DM me. I'm always available. I might take some time, but I'm always available. And I want people to know that there are resources out there for them. And so, if anybody needs anything, if you want more resources, or you need more information about grief, or you just want to have a conversation, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help. Grief is not something that a lot of people want to talk about, but God has gifted me the resource and the spirit to be able to handle this very delicate subject. So, feel free to reach out to me. I'm so thankful for this opportunity. Lady J, I'm just so thankful and honored. You're such a pioneer, and I'm just so thankful, and I'm excited to see when we can collaborate again,
Mhm.
because this was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we I have another comment on
Mhm.
here. I think Van was asking you a question. She
Mhm.
said, I would love to come visit your group. Do
Mhm.
you also do your groups by Zoom?
Yes, so our group is virtual. So we do have some in person, but most of our groups are also. So if it's in person, it's still virtual.
Hmm.
And so yes, we do both. I will. We took a break for spring break, but we are going to be restarting again in June. So I would love, please follow me, or if Lady J, you want to give me her information, I will make
Hmm.
sure that she has the information. But also, I am doing a women in grief group. I'm actually doing it next Saturday. I'm happy to send that information now.
Okay.
So let me know. I can message you with it. So that's something that you can join now. And once again, I have plenty of resources, and if you just need me, just let me know.
Okay. And I want to say thank you for coming on. And I definitely want to do some things in the future with you because I think that um, this is something that we need to talk about. We need to have
Mhm.
this discussion.
Mhm.
And also, do you go out to churches or organizations to speak
Yeah,
in case
yeah.
somebody may be listening?
Yeah, so I have my website, shamekaspeaks.com. I have different events. I do have multiple speaking engagements. I'm speaking at a brunch on Mother's Day, so I do go to different places. I just went to a something in Virginia called Address Your Pain. So I do go different places and speak about grief and speak
Mhm.
about loss in general, because it's not
Mhm.
always about death. And just I also talk about mental health. I'm a very big mental health
Yeah,
advocate.
me too.
I have a podcast called Being Bipolar, because I am indeed bipolar, but you would never
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
And so I always tie it in, because mental health is so important in your process of grief. Grief often exacerbates mental health. Um,
Mhm.
in the African American community, we don't talk enough about how it does that. Um,
Right.
so yeah, so I'm open to speaking engagements. My email is admin@shamikaspeaks.com. And my assistant will, make sure that I get it. But I love to speak to people. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Awesome. And you're great at it. You are really, really good at it. And
Thank
I'm
you.
glad you reached out to me.
Hmm.
I really asked God to just send the right people for
Hmm.
me to talk to, and I appreciate you just, reaching out.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna stay connected, Shamika. We
Yes.
definitely gonna stay connected. And
Yes. And I'm
y'all listen,
for you
yeah.
too. If you need me, I'm here.
Yeah, and send me, when you have events and stuff going on, send it to me so I can announce it and post
Okay.
it and all of that.
I appreciate
Um, and so y'all listen, this is Shamika Williams, and I want you to, play this back if you need to listen at all the great advice that she gave us tonight. If you know somebody that's grieving,
you.
I don't care what they're grieving over, please share this video with them.
Hmm.
The other thing I need you to do is just make sure you press the like button at the on here.
Hmm.
If you're on whatever you're on, because we're on all the social media platforms, but wherever you are on the platform, make sure you hit the like button. If
Hmm.
you're on YouTube, make sure you definitely subscribe to the channel because we got a lot of great shows coming up.
Hmm.
And I'm going to probably at the end of the month, Shamika, I may be calling you again or sometime in June,
Okay.
where we can do something else.
Okay.
But I'll talk to you about that. I'll
Okay.
talk to you about that. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you get her information. It's on the screen. Reach out if you need to. Please do not sit at home and be depressed and feel like you're alone. There are
Hmm.
people out here like Shamika who's available to talk to you. And again, find at least three people. I always ask you to find at least three people. At least three people, and
Hmm.
share this video with them and tell them how great this sister was speaking and talking to us about grief and how to get through the process. So y'all have a great night. Have a good night. Make sure you tune in
Bye.
tomorrow. We got some really good shows coming tomorrow. Lady J is tired. We got some really I've been going like show after show after show, but we got some really good shows coming up tomorrow night. So make sure you tune in. And Shameka, you have a great night as well, and I'll
You
be in
too.
touch.
Thank you
All
so much.
right.
Have
Thank
a
you,
great.
everybody. Good
Bye
night.
bye.
Just wanted to let you know that the host of this show appreciates the time that you've spent with them. Now, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel so you can keep up with everything that we're doing. And most of all, thank you for tuning in to What Up Baltimore online radio, where the people have the power.